morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending at what time of the day you're watching this episode of Data-Driven Formula One. My name is Patrick Henz, and today it's another of my solo episode. Our normal ones, Ganna Pogrefna and we jointly host this podcast, but sometimes I do some of these solo episodes where we dig deeper into a topic, a little bit left on right to our normal episodes. And today it's another of these ones where we go way back into time. We're speaking about José Froilán González, the Argentinian Formula One driver, particularly known as being Ferrari's first Formula One championship winner. Short episode, I assume, but nevertheless, I think very interesting also to celebrate a little bit where Formula One came from originally, meaning speaking about the early days. Short profile, José Froilán González, or shortly known also as Froilán González, was an Argentine racing driver who competed in Formula One between 1950 and 1960s, so 10 years, quite long career. Also, we have to consider that he already started racing also under Formula One regulations before he had the start of the official championship. He was a runner-up in the Formula One World Drivers' Championship in 1954 with Ferrari and won 2 Grand Prix across 9 seasons. In endurance races, González won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the year 1954 and also for Scuderia Ferrari. Interesting side note, when you know German, the name Fräulein sounds always a little bit funny because the German word Fräulein means little miss, but in Spanish language it's a normal name, at least it was years ago. Today it's not common anymore, but it's a male name. He has been born October 5 in 1922 in Arrecifes, Argentina, and also he died in Argentina, luckily many, many years later. So meaning he's one of the fewer drivers who survived Formula One or motorsports in general. He died in Buenos Aires 2013 in June 15. He drove for various teams, including Maserati, Talbot Lago, Ferrari, and Vanderbilt. Also in endurance racing for Simca Cordini, and we will see this a little bit later. He had 26 starts in Formula One. Here you have to consider that the championships in the early years, in the 1950s, have been much smaller than today, so we see only each year maybe half of the number of races than we have today in the 2020s. Again, he won 2 championships, but never had the luck to win a championship. When we speak about his early career, we also have to consider a little bit politics. Even as a teenager, José Froilán González was considered a gifted athlete and an avid swimmer. He came to motor racing through his father, owner of a major Chevrolet dealership, and his uncle Julio Perez, a former well-known endurance driver of the 1930s. In addition, his birthplace boasts a natural racetracks, so he had it already in his family, as many drivers who had been a second or third generation driver. Many times it's not that the father already had a Formula One driver, but maybe in other classes or lower races. If you're interested in Formula One dynasties, we have a separate episode about this topic. President Juan Domingo Perón of Argentina, making use of his dictatorial powers, elevated racing to a national issue when, beginning in 1947, he deliberately had the so-called season held in Buenos Aires and other cities in the country during the European winter, which is a cycle of races with mostly non-formula races announced as competitions, which were received with enthusiasm by the European drivers. Quite understandable as we speaking about the time directly after the end of World War II, meaning big parts of Europe had been still in ruins. The manufacturers, of course, had it's that their focus first built up capacity again to build cars, sell cars. Nevertheless, a lot of them, including Alfa Romeo, still had their pre-war cars, and these pre-war cars had been the ones which had been used in Argentina at the end of 1940s. Then still in 1950s, even though we saw here also the very first cars manufacturers after World War II. Juan Domingo Perón had copied a little bit the pre-war rulers in Europe, where the different regimes wanted to show their technological and societal progress with sports events like the Olympics in Berlin, but also motorsports had been strongly supported by the regimes before World War II, especially in Germany and also in Italy. So even though, of course, I don't want to compare Perón with these rulers, at least he took the idea to promote the government with motorsports from here, meaning on the one hand show the success of the Argentinian government economy with hosting such international events, and of course give their population something to be excited about. So the old Roman idea of bread and games. The pre-war Italian motor racing star Achille Varzi also competed in these mentioned events successfully, and and due to this, he became the most popular foreign driver. This may be also because big parts of Argentinian culture is, of course, linked to the Italian heritage. Fascinated by local racing scene, Vaz encouraged also local racers, most notable Juan Manuel Fangio, to try their luck in Europe later. Unfortunately, Vasi had a fatal accident in the training of the in the training for the 1948 race in Bremgarten, Switzerland. Nevertheless, his father tried to honor his memory, and he founded a racing team, the Automobile Club Argentina, which bought two Maserati 448S, and also encouraged Argentinian drivers as first of all Fancho and led Benedicto Campos to compete in Europe with their cars. Vasi also offered them the Palacio Vasi workshop in Gariate as their team location, allowing the team to be called Team Argentino Achille Vasi. And this had been quite a group not only using the Argentinian drivers, but really Vasi's father supported them, let them stay on the farm, which they then with him. So he really supported them, giving them a place to stay at Europe, and due to their potential, then giving them the opportunity to drive at the European races. When Gonzalez then began his first attempts at racing, he directly received various nicknames, which you can find here on the right. The most known, El Cabezón. It has a little bit a double meaning in Spanish. On the one hand, it means cabezón, big head, so big-headed, but also a stubborn one, because this was his character, very stubborn, always 100% driving, not taking care, maybe at least in the beginning, of the material. And that's why also maybe many times he not finished the races because he just overdrove the car or not took adequately care of the materials, and so we had technical failures. Other nicknames, for example, by the European press, the Argentine Puma, or especially in England, the Pampas Bull. But so this had been the nicknames from the press, maybe also from the fans. But let's say for his friends, he was just Pepe. Then let's jump to 1950. The team Argentino Achille Vasi had a good technical director in Vasi's former chief mechanic Amedeo Binami, but the fleet sometimes numbered 10 racing cars. So it's as a private team, they had to see which cars we are getting. So they not always competed with the one brand. Sometimes had the opportunity, maybe just for some races, get cars from another manufacturer. So they had to take what they able to get. And Maserati, so they used, for example, Maserati, as you can see on the right, maybe Ferrari cars for Formula 2 racing, sports car races. They used Gardini or Talbot Lago, so really interesting, eclectic mixture. González' debut during the 1950 season at the Monaco Grand Prix was a surprise. He finished third in qualifying, but was then one of the victims of a massive collision at the Tobacco Corner that decimated 2/3 of the field already. At the Albi Grand Prix, which is not part of the World Championship, he finished second, but in the official races, failure due to defects predominated. So again, only a small parts of the cars maybe saw the checkered flag. Also, you have to remember, especially in the beginning 1950s, also 60s, we had a high number of non-official championship races, meaning using races organized under Formula One regulations, but not part of the real championship. You may say the same number of official races, we had also non-official races. They had been attractive for the teams and drivers, as there was another opportunity to present themselves to the local population. Also, the drivers could earn money. Important to know, 1950s, it's not that we had live coverage yet of Formula One races, or in general had a lot of Formula One content on TV, or in general news on TV. Remember, in Europe, for example, people saw news often in the movie theater before the official movie started. So news had been maybe weeks old before they really had been perceived by the audience. So local events had a much higher importance as today. With the introduction of Mercedes-Benz, with the pre-World supercharged model of the type W144 in the 1951 Argentine season, González caught the eye of Enzo Ferrari. Maybe you're surprised, Mercedes-Benz 1951, because they officially entered Formula One in 1954. But it's a good strategy, and they used it something similar later when they returned to Formula One. The Argentine races had been quite popular in Argentina. On the other hand, fans, especially in Europe, they not really got a lot of information about these races. If they got results, maybe a short resume of 2 minutes, as I said, when they see the news. So it was a good opportunity to test their cars or their logistics before officially taking the step in 1954 to enter Formula One. Also here we speak about pre-World War II models, which they raced in this occasion the last time. So we're not speaking about the new silver arrows, which we should see in 54. These had been complete other cars. The route had then in the races, the route had previously been entrusted to Fancho, who at that time thought that he himself would drive a light and agile Ferrari Formula 2 car in these Argentine races. Nevertheless, last minute he got the opportunity to drive for Mercedes, and this was the opportunity for Froilán González to start with the Ferrari 162, which had a 2-liter supercharged engine. He was able to easily win the Juan Perón Grand Prix ahead of the Mercedes drivers Hermann Kling and also the later Donna Evita Perón Grand Prix. Both races had been in the city of Buenos Aires, and here he was ahead of the Mercedes driver Karl Kling. Because the double charged engine had of Mercedes-Benz had a problem with the humidity of the Argentine summer. It's quite hot in Buenos Aires in summer, could be up to 40 degrees Celsius. Also rain, and this was not something this maybe a little bit more sophisticated Mercedes engine could deal with. So better the little bit more conservative Ferrari, at least for these conditions. On the other hand, the Argentine team Achille Vassi did not have any competitive cars. They used the Talbot Lago models for the 51 World Automobile Championship cars, which you could use to compete, to be inside the race, but to be honest, not cars to fight for the first positions. At the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, same year, González set the fastest time in qualifying, 1 second ahead of Fancho and 2 seconds ahead of Ascari. He won the race by 50 seconds over Fancho, making it Ferrari's first ever victory in a Formula One World Championship race. Also the first non-Alfa Romeo victory in the championship. With this victory, 2 second places and a third place, González finished third behind Fancho and Ascari, the two Alfa Romeo drivers at that time. And here you see the car, the Ferrari 375 Formula One, very beautiful car. Looks already quite strong, and it was quite strong. It wasn't yet on the level to really fight the Alfa Romeo, the Alfettas, but it was already on the second position. So when there was an opportunity that the Alphas had been struggling for whatever reasons, the Ferraris could be there to take on the points, and in this case also the first victory, in this case by Froilán González. Jump 2 years, now we are in 53, and here you see a very nice photo of Froilán González sitting inside the Maserati A6. And later we will have the one famous quote by him, and this already relates a little bit to his physical appearance. I mean, we are still much before the time when Formula One drivers had been real athletics. This started, let's say, is middle of the 1970s with Niki Lauda. So for today's eyes, yes, he looked a little bit overweight, to say it that way. In 53, Maserati contested the season with 3 Argentine drivers when Onofre Maimon joined the team. That year, Fancho became runner-up in the World Championship behind Ferrari, and González became 6th. Again, motor racing had been still quite strong in Argentina, supported by the government, not only as a political vision, but let's be honest, both the president and his wife, Evita Perón, also liked beautiful, fast European cars. For example, Evita Perón had a 1950 Maserati A6 1500. Next year, the Argentines then went their separate ways. Marion stayed with Maserati. Fangio switched to Mercedes after 2 World Championship races with Maserati, and González returned to Ferrari. Throughout the season, González proved to be Fangio's closest rival. At Silverstone in England, González was able to repeat his 51 victory. He took 70 seconds off second place Mike Horton and even a full lap of fourth place Fangio. After the fatal training accident of his former teammate and friend Onofre Marimon at the German Grand Prix, he retired from a race and was replaced in the race by Horton. At the Swiss Grand Prix on the demanding Bremgarten circuit, he took then pole position 2/10 of a second ahead of Fancho. However, after second place in this race and third place at the Italian Grand Prix, it was only enough for second place in the World Championship, as 54 was famously won by the returning Silver Arrows from Mercedes-Benz. So far to his career in Formula One, because 54 was the last year where he regularly had been participating. After this 55, he still participated sporadically with a Ferrari 6 to 25, but then the next races he was like an invited driver. So he not competed the whole season, but maybe had been started in one or two races. Was quite common, and this decade that the teams invited additional drivers for the races which have been particularly special to them. Maybe because to support a decision at the end of the season, or they wanted to present themselves to the fans at their home Grand Prix. His strongest year, maybe besides 51, where he had the first victory for Ferrari, had been 53, where he drove for Maserati and could reach the sixth position in the championship. This the best after the famous 51, where he became third, starting with Talbot Lago, and then continued with the Scuderia Ferrari. And that's why I've chosen this photo, the 51 Ferrari 375. Speaking about photos, this is, I would say, an enhanced audio podcast. Gunnar and I always try to show you images, photos, drawings, info, statistics, to underline a little bit what we are speaking about. This you can see on YouTube Music, and Spotify. If you're just listening to this audio podcast, maybe because you're driving yourself, when you have time, please check out also the video version, as I think it brings a little bit additional benefit to the topic. We already mentioned it at the beginning. He not only participated in Formula One, participating in what we called Formula Libre in the Argentinian winter, before the Formula One Championship started in 1950s, and while we still had the first races in the 50s. Also, he started 4 times at the 24 Hours of Le Mans for different teams. First attempt for Automobiles Gordini, part of Renault, together with Juan Manuel Fancho driving the Simca Gordini. Unfortunately, not finished the race. Same next year, driving for the private team of Henri Loveo, together with his friend Argentine Onofre Marion, now with a Talbot Lago T26. Also here, technical failure, same as next year. Then as a driver for Scuderia Lancia, together with the Italian Clemente Biondetti with the beautiful Lancia D20, but also without luck. This would change next year, driving now officially for Scuderia Ferrari together with French Maurice Trintignant with the Ferrari 375 Plus, which you see here on the photo. And here, victory not only in his class, but also overall victory after the 24 hours. And as he won the victory, he also never came back to Le Mans. Somehow you may say he anyway retired 54. His racing Grand Prix, not 100% coming back here and there, but let's say his real professional career ended after 54. There is one quote only, but this one quite well known. In the old days, drivers were fat and tires were thin. You saw already him in the photo. Here you see one of his cars driving later in 2000, where he has been invited to drive the Ferrari 500. You see him again, a little bit overweight to today's standards, and you see the tires in opposite to that. Sin, makes sense, the quote. If you are interested, Gunnar and I always recommend biographies, go to the museums. There is no museum only dedicated to him, but he has some space in the Museo Fancho in Argentina, in Balcarce. If you have ever the opportunity to be at that place, I mean, I had been to Argentina, but unfortunately not in Balcarce. So still have this on my to-do list. But if you're there, try to go there as preparation for this, or in general, if you want to see a little bit more about the museum, even if you do not have the opportunity to go, check out the website www.museofancho.com. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this short episode. If yes, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Also, if you have any comments, just write your comments under the episode, including if you have ideas what you would like us to talk about. You can also put it here, and maybe we will take on your idea. And with this, thanks a lot. See you the next time, and maybe next time we'll be together again with Gunnar Porevna. Let's see. Bye bye.